Hello, everybody. Let us start our discussion today. Last time we talked about de Broglie's hypothesis on matter waves. Let me remind you of that first, and then we'll discuss more about matter waves today. So, what was de Broglie's hypothesis? He said that with any object or matter which has a momentum p, so matter with momentum p and energy E, there is a wave associated with it which has a wavelength lambda equals h by p and angular frequency omega equals E by h cross. Remember, h cross is h by 2 pi. H is the Planck constant. And we wrote this down in terms of the wave numbers. This is an alternative statement. Remember that k is 2 pi by lambda and E is h cross omega. Then we discussed that for a free particle, and we are completely discussing non-relativistic case now. We know that E is related to the momentum this way, which will imply now I can put E from here in terms of omega and P from here in terms of k. So which will imply that omega as a function of k is given by h cross k square by 2m. And this type of relation of omega and k, or omega as a function of k, we call this dispersion relation. Why it is called the dispersion relation will be rather clear today after today's discussion. Then we said, so when we talk about waves, in general, a wave is a function of, if I call a function which represent a wave as psi, so what is psi? A function that represents the wave. In short, sometimes we will call this as wave function. In fact, that is how it is usually denoted. So any such wave function will be essentially a function of kx minus omega t. And we said, so this is the property of, this comes out from the property of a wave. And then we said, okay, so for free particle, we tried with the sine kx minus omega t example, which was giving us considerably good result for the light waves. But for a massive free particle, like electrons and all, one example that we saw, so this is an example of a wave we saw, is that and we realized that psi is a complex quantity. Okay. Now, so this is what we had learned last time about the de Broglie matter waves, that for a free particle, the dispersion relation for the wave is given by this. This is for a free particle. Again, let me tell you, if you want to put the relativistic effect, you should add a plus MEC square here, which we are plus MC square here. Remember, that is the non-relativistic approximation to the relativistic case. And I have to add a MEC square here. I guess there was a H cross omega, so I should add MEC square by H cross to the right hand side of this. But that is not what we are using in general, because we are not considering special relativity for the time being. If it is required at some time, we will bring that back into. But the discussion that is going on right now is completely in accordance with the complete old classical mechanics that you knew after you studied before you studied special relativity. Okay, and we have learned that in general the wave function, the function that represents the wave, may look like this, but for a free particle example, we saw that it has to be complex, or any example actually in case of quantum mechanics, this wave has to be complex, has to be a complex function, and and again, let me remind you what this function will be and what the dispersion relation will be will depend on the nature of the problem we are dealing with. If it's a free particle, we have already seen what is the dispersion relation is. If it is not a free particle, it can be something else. Okay, so let's start our discussion today. One thing should I mention here is that we still do not know. We said what we know. We still do not know what is the matter wave. Like for the sound wave, it is density or velocity. For the electromagnetic wave, it is electric field or magnetic field. But here, what is that's a wave of for the matter wave? You still do not know that. We will not be able to raise that point today, even at the end of this lecture, but we will raise that shortly. Before that, let us look at certain properties of the wave. First thing we realize is, so let us look at this wave psi as a function of x and t. And this we wrote as psi 0, which for the time being you can consider to be as just 1. This is kx minus omega t. This wave has only one frequency, so it is also called monochromatic. Psi 0 is a constant, so we call it a plane wave. Okay, so this is a monochromatic plane wave. So we ask the question, what is the velocity of this wave? Now, always we know the difference between an oscillation and a wave is that an oscillation happens at a given point in space. The wave happens at all point in space and at all time. And it seems we know already that at least for electromagnetic wave, it carries energy from one place to the other. So a wave may carry some information from one place to the other. So let us see if we plot. So if we look at psi as a function of x for different times, so like this, and then I go to some other time, then I go to some other time, etc. like that, then what will happen to psi as a function of x? So what I can do is, for every time I can plot a frame. So this is at t equals to 0. And then I plot, so x-axis I'm plotting x, y-axis I cannot plot a complex number, so I plot the real part of psi. Okay, so similarly I plot it at t equals to t1, x-axis is again x, t equals to t2 and all. So if I do this, then what I will see is like different frames of a movie. Each frame will correspond to how the wave looks at a given time. Now obviously I cannot plot x from minus infinity to plus infinity, so I will be restricted to a certain region in space only. And let us have a look at this as a movie. So movie has these as frames, and then we will be able to see how the wave is moving in time. So let us do that. This is a plot of a movie as made as I discussed just now. So you can see real plot of psi, part of psi is plotted in y-axis, and x-axis is the position. The movie was moving, and as you can see, if I fixed at a time step, it is just a sine wave or cosine wave. And if I consider different time steps, then it appears to move in the right hand like this way. What we want to know is the speed at which it is moving in the right hand direction. Now, as it stops, so I have these several maximas, and I can just look at one maxima and see how it is moving in the right hand direction. When I say it's a maxima, if it is a cosine curve, the cosine has a maxima at x equals to 0. So if I draw a cosine curve at x equals to 0, it will look something like that. Now, the part that I have with I over here, which I can write here again, so kx minus omega t, this part, this has a name, this is called the phase of the wave. And just because if you are familiar with complex numbers, you also see here that psi 0 is the amplitude of the complex number, and that kx minus omega t is the phase. Now this kx minus omega t is, in this case, is 0 here. If the maxima moves and say it goes towards the right hand side, and at a later time, as we saw in the movie, the maxima comes here, then the value of the phase at this point will be again 0. So if I take any such point where the phase has a definite value, so this is, I am talking about at position x, and time t. Like here, the position at x equals to 0 at t equals to 0 is here. And later, with the blue point, it has moved some x equals to somewhere, let us call it x plus delta x, at a time which is after time delta t. But you see the phase is same, otherwise I will not get a maxima. The phase has to be 0 for that to be a maxima. Phase means kx minus omega t has to be 0 for that to be a maxima. So what I can do is that this is a monochromatic wave, it has a given frequency omega, and once omega is known, the dispersion relation is fixed for a given wave, then k is also known, so that cannot change as the wave progresses. So this, at a later time, the maxima, the phase which has phi 0, in this case we have considered phi 0 to be 0 for the example over here, but it can be anything. I could have chosen this point here, which will move to some point over here, but they will move together, right? So it doesn't matter really which phase you choose, but you have to choose one phase, so that at a later point x plus delta x and t plus delta t again, so it has moved there, so the same phase has moved there. If I subtract one from the other, the right hand side becomes 0. In the left hand side, I get k delta x minus omega delta t, and that immediately tells you the amount it moves per unit time, the phase of the wave moves per unit time is given by omega by k. So this is the amount of distance the phase of the wave travels. Per unit time. So what usually we call things which are like distance per unit time, we call them velocities. And this is the velocity of the phase, so this we call the phase velocity. So it's given by omega by k. So this is one of the important result about the phase, about the wave that we have got today. Okay. But you see, our wave is supposed to represent a particle, right? Because de Broglie said that with every particle, every matter, there is a wave. Where is the particle? If I ask the question, okay, the particle has a momentum p, but where is the particle? How can I answer that question? If I look at the wave as it is moving in the right hand side, I have absolutely no clue where the particle is, because the same thing in the wave repeats again and again and again and again. That is particularly because it's a monochromatic wave. A monochromatic wave actually doesn't carry much information. I cannot answer where the particle is using if the particle is represented just by a monochromatic wave like this. So what can I do? What happens if I start adding up waves of nearby k values with this? So let's see what happens. So for that, let me first write down and then I will show you actually what happens once you add up. So I start with psi xt, which is what we wrote down before, psi 0. Let me write this exponential this way, I. So this is kx minus, remember that omega is a function of k, and depending on what you are dealing with, like for a free particle, we know how the omega behaves as a function of k. Actually, how omega behaves like for a function as a function of k depends on what type of potential the particle sees. The free particle, the potential is essentially non-existent. So for that, we have already worked out how omega is a function of k. But with this, so let us add plus psi plus, which is another monochromatic wave, but with a little difference. So I call it plus, so let's add delta x here. And omega will be now function of k, so k plus, I'm sorry, this is not delta x, this is rather delta k. With k, I can add k only, apple to apple. And I can do this symmetrically. It's not necessary. It really doesn't matter how you are doing it, but I am just cooking up an example for you. Okay, so k minus delta k times x minus omega omega is a function of k minus delta k here. So this bracket is for a function, it's not multiplied, and times t. So I add these three up. I add these three to make my, so let's call this psi 0. So I make a psi xt, which is adding psi 0 plus psi 1 plus psi minus, psi plus plus psi minus. And I may not stop here. I can add many of them. Like for example, I can add one with plus 2k, add one with minus 2k, etc., etc. I can also change the amplitudes. It's not necessary all of them I will add up with the same amplitude. I may also wish to change the amplitude. Okay, so let's see what happens, how the wave looks like as I keep on adding this. And so let us look at psi at t equals to 0. So later we will see what happens with time. First, let us look at what happens at psi as t equals to 0 now, which is given by, so let's keep the amplitude constant for the time being, and this is written as e to the I some k I x. So here is an animation as a function of which shows you what happens as you increase the number of k's that you are adding. They're called modes. You see that the wave type of thing slowly disappears, and all the waves are essentially adding up in phase at x equals to 0. So x equals to 0, you see a rather very large amplitude, and as the number of k's that you add up increases, the amplitude of the wave at places other than x equals to 0 decreases. Here I have added up to k equals to 99. I can add up even more, and then eventually we'll see that only thing that exists is at x equals to 0. Most of the amplitude of the wave is at x equals to 0. Okay, so what we have seen from the short animation is that as I add up many of these at t equals to 0, what happens is I get to see a function which is, in this particular case, looks something like that. So real part of psi. Always I am plotting real part because that's what I can plot. Otherwise I can plot 2, but that doesn't give us much extra understanding. Okay, so now what it has done is, now we can say, now this multiple waves, or should I say multiple frequency waves, k is also called spatial frequencies, and for each k there will be a different omega, so we'll get different time related frequencies, angular frequencies. So for now different frequency waves, when we add up, to give a rather localized, so let me keep it in inverted comma, amplitude. Most of the amplitude is in this region, right, at near to x equals to 0, at t equals to 0 again for the wave. And now I can say that maybe our particle is there. So you can say that our particle is there. So which means now if I talk about the velocity of the particle or momentum of the particle, that will correspond to the velocity of the particle will correspond to how fast this thing moves. Okay. Now you may say that, well, why will that move differently than the wave? That will come to. But let's see what we are doing here. See, what we are doing here is just adding up psi with different k. So we can, for example, do it. So let's we are doing at t equals to 0, say. So t equals to 0, we are doing this exercise. And in general, we have taken a very special example here where I just added up k and then k plus delta k plus 2 delta k with k minus delta k minus 2 delta k, keeping the amplitude fixed. But in general, what I can do is I can choose any k, give it whatever amplitude I want. So every k will get a different amplitude. And instead of doing a discrete sum, I can even do an integration. And the customary way of writing down this integration is with this normalization 1 by root 2 pi, where what this essentially means is that you are adding up waves of many different k's. Remember that this omega, or should I write it explicitly here, that this omega is a function of k, and this omega is non-existing here because you are writing it as x equals to 0. So this is x0 is given by this. So we are taking waves of different k, multiplying with del phi x and dk so that amplitudes are different for every k, and then summing them up. So this is the meaning of the integration. Remember that integration is always a limit of a summation. So this is that summation. You can even get back, you can write phi k just by a little change in this expression. This is a mathematical uh, fact that if this is true, then this will be also true. So I write e to the ikx but with a minus sign here, and now my integration is over all x. Okay, so this 2, this is called Fourier transform. And what you are doing the Fourier transform here is going from, if I know phi k, so the amplitudes of different k modes, so every oscillation or every wave with a given k is called one k mode. So amplitude of different k modes are phi k. So I am doing a Fourier transform to go from phi k to psi here. And this is doing just the opposite of that. So if I know psi, this let me go from psi to phi. So these are called inverse Fourier transform. If you are given enough attention, you realize that psi x is the wave, is the matter wave. Both we are talking at t equals to 0 now, but psi x is the matter wave as we look at it at x equals to 0 uh, as a function of x. Phi k is the same matter wave as we look at it as a function of k, or remember that k is also related to momentum. So this gives me the matter wave in terms of momentum. This gives me the matter wave in terms of the position. We'll use this in the next lecture. Just keep this in mind. Now, once I know psi at x equals to 0, sorry, psi at t equals to 0, psi at xt is simple. So this I could have written down earlier and then got the special case of t equals to 0, but let me write it. So omega as a function of k. So this bracket k means it's a function of k times t. Okay. All right. Now remember how this psi at x equals to 0 looks. So this is psi at x0, right? What would I have expected if I see this entire thing moving towards the right? A later time I would have seen that this maxima has come to the right hand side, and then I have the entire wave moved to the right hand side. Now showing this with a lot of k modes is a little difficult. So what I will do is to show this with only two k modes. So if I have two frequencies, so one oscillating like this, so this is wave, the matter wave of one frequency. My drawing is not good, but this is supposed to be a sine wave. And say this is the other frequency, and they have a little different velocities because they have little different k. So this is k1 and this is k2 for this. K is k2, and what I want to do is I want to sum them up. So this is all happening at t equals to 0. And t equals to 0, I sum them up. If they are little different, then you know that they forms beats. So that you have studied in your +2, the phenomena of beats. So they will look something like this. So this is now in all these cases. So here are where we added even more numbers here. We are dealing with not a single wave, but a group of wave. So this is, if I consider it, the other example which was shown to you in the movie. So here we are dealing with a group of waves. So because of that, this is also called a wave group. So what is a wave group? So this is one wave group. So in this case, these are different wave groups. Okay. This is another name. They are also called wave packets. You see, we are already we have not shown it yet, but we are kind of saying that our particle lies here. So the energy of the particle is kind of kept in a packet in that region of space. Okay, and that packet then moves with time, and because of that, you see that you feel in reality that the particle is moving. So de Broglie associated waves with particles, and then what we are saying is that if the particle is moving, then it means that these wave packets are moving. So each wave packet represents a particle. Okay. So these are also wave packets. So packets of waves. Okay. So question we'll ask now is that this is t equals to 0. At t progresses, this entire thing will move. So at a different t, this thing will appear to be, say, like this. Okay, so it has moved a little bit towards the right. So let me show that to you. Here I see there are two waves in the top and the bottom part, and they are superposed to make the wave in the middle. Okay, what you see is that this entire thing is traveling towards the right hand side, and these bunches at the middle are the wave groups that we are talking about. But if you notice carefully, the groups are moving at different velocities, as the individual wave. There are many oscillations passing through the boundaries of the wave very fast, whereas for the groups, the oscillations, the entire group is moving with a different velocity. So this is the velocity of these groups is what we want to find out. Okay. How do I find out the velocity of the group is the question now. Now to do that, to find the velocity of the wave group, we come back here. So this is the expression for a wave group. And this is the same expression of the wave group at x equals to 0. So what I can do now is to see what happens if I consider a particular dispersion relation. So let us start with this expression for the wave group and let's see what we can get from it. So this is x and t and 1 by root 2 pi integral of dk e to the I kx minus omega as a function of k, remember, t and phi k. Now omega as a function of k, we do not know what it is. So that is the dispersion relation. Let us assume that I expand omega as a function of k in a Taylor series about k equals to k0. So expand in Taylor series about k equals to k0. Okay, so what will I get? Well, first I get omega at k equals to k0, which I called omega 0, which is a constant because k0 is a constant. So k0 is a constant. You can consider it to be the mean k of the wave if you wish. Then I get d omega dk, so I'm just doing Taylor series expansion, evaluated at k equals to k0 times k minus k0. Now for the time being, the discussion we are going through, I don't need the higher order terms, but I request you to keep one higher order term and redo the calculations that we are doing right now. And you will see something more interesting is happening. But let us just forget about the higher order term. So we say that that delta k, k minus k0 is very small, so the higher orders I can neglect. If k minus k0 is small, obviously k minus k0 squared will be even smaller. So that's why I can neglect the higher orders. Now let us just by force call this is just a definition, and we'll see why we call it Vg later, but let us just call this as Vg. It is just a shorthand notation for that. It will make our life simpler. Means that we will be able to write down things omega k approximately now easily. So this will be just Vg times k minus k0. Okay, so what we will do is we will put this omega k back into our wave packet expression. Okay, so let us do that. And remember that my integration is over k. So k0 is a constant. So this has two terms. The constant terms let me keep separately. And then I have a term Vg times k. The constant terms I can always take outside. Okay, so let's see what we'll get. So psi at x and t is 1 by root 2 pi So I will get these two as constant terms. Omega k is both k's multiplied by t. So those things does not have any k dependence can come out of the integral. So let me write that first. P. Then what I am left with is 1 by root 2 pi integral over dk phi k. We probably need a little more space, so let me make some space. So what else will I have? I will have e to the ikx from here. So that is there, e to the I kx, and I have this vgk into t because it was omega was multiplied by t. So this is k times vgt. All right. Let's see. Let me remind you what was psi at t equals to 0. Psi at t equals to 0 was 1 by root 2 pi integral of dk phi k e to the ikx. Right? T equals to 0, it was this. If you look at now what has happened from t equals to 0 to t equals to 0 to t equals to t, what has happened is, apart from this phase factor, if I forget this phase factor which is sitting outside here, then inside the integral what has happened is kx has become kx minus vgt. So what was at x equals to some point is now at x equals to x vgt by k. X equals to vgt, sorry, x minus vgt. What does it mean? It means that, remember that x equals to 0, I had this wave packet at x equals to 0, x is going this way, real of psi going this way, and this is at t equals to 0. The wave packet was at x equals to 0. Now the same thing, or let me draw in the same plot. This has moved by Vg times t. This is at t equals to t. So if I ask you what is the speed at which the wave packet moves, what is the speed, or if consider 3-dimension velocity with which the wave packet or wave group moves. Simple, it is the velocity is vg, right? So vg is called the group velocity. That is why I used suffix g. So this is given by d omega by dk. Okay. So we also encountered about the phase velocity earlier. The phase velocity was given by omega by k. Okay. So these are two different things. So remember, we said that phase velocity is relevant for a monochromatic wave more. So monochromatic wave, obviously both of them are same. If I have a monochromatic wave, I cannot transfer any information. Like the concept of a particle is not very good if I consider just monochromatic wave, because the wave is at everywhere, so you really do not know where the particle is. I need to add up many waves with little different k, and then I will get the wave packet. And once I get the wave packet or wave group, then the velocity of that wave group I expect to be, that wave group I expect to represent the particle. Okay. So let's look at what happens to the group. What is the group velocity, group and phase velocity? First, let us look at non-relativistic case. Which is that we already know what is the dispersion relation. The dispersion relation for non-relativistic case, if you remember, let us see, we have written it down earlier, I hope. Yeah, so omega is h k squared by 2m. So what is group velocity for this? Group velocity is omega by k. I'm sorry, let's calculate the phase velocity first. The phase velocity is omega by k, which is h cross k by 2m. Okay, so what is, remember that h cross k was the momentum of the particle, and if I calculate the velocity of the particle, that is, classical case is p by m, which is h cross k by m. So this is essentially half the velocity of the particle. If I calculate the group velocity though, which is d omega dk, so I get 2k h cross square, that 2 cancels out with the 2 in the denominator, so I get h cross k by m, which is essentially the velocity of the particle. So we see that the group velocity indeed is the velocity of the particle. So what was our hint or hinge that the wave group will represent a particle is actually true, because the velocity of the wave group is matching with the velocity of the particle. If I consider relativistic case, we have to redo the dispersion relation. Remember that E square is P square C square plus M square C4. E square is H cross omega square equals H cross K square C square plus M square C4. And then if I calculate d omega dk, I get h cross square here, 2 omega d omega dk, here h cross square c square 2k, and that's it, because this is a constant. If I do ddk of that, it is 0. H cross cancels out from both the sides, 2 also cancels out, d omega dk is nothing but V group, and if I bring k in the left hand side, I get omega by k, which is V phase. So this is equal c square. Now you see the Vg gives you the particle velocity, and we are talking about massive particles. And in our discussion in special relativity, we saw that these are always less than c. So if I write Vp is c square by Vg, so I can write c times c by Vg. And c by Vg is less than c, this is greater than c. Well, the phase of the wave can go faster than the speed of light. But that doesn't violate anything, because as we said, phase velocity is something on which we cannot actually encode any information. It's related to that single waves. Where did you discuss phase velocity? Here. It is related to that single wave, and the single wave, what it does is oscillates at a given frequency. And it's the information, if you consider a single monochromatic wave, the only information it has is its frequency. I cannot give any extra information on top of it. To give any extra information, what I need to do is to either change the amplitude of the wave, because what am I doing here is adding up different waves of different amplitude. So that's an amplitude modulated wave, which you have probably heard of. Or what we can do is we can change the frequency of the wave. So that will be a frequency modulated wave. Doing these two, we can encode informations, and both of these actually gives us things like wave packets. And we discussed in this lecture today about the group and phase velocities of a wave, and we also discussed about the concept of wave packets, concept of locality of a particle, how we need a wave packet or a wave group to discuss the locality of a particle, and we will carry our discussion from there in the next class. Thank you.